Hey guys, my name is Brady Bissett. I'm a cinematographer and DP, and today we're going to learn how to make your gloomy rainy night scene go from this to this. So if you know me, you know that I love making people feel super emotional and really be in the shot and feel exactly what the subject is feeling when watching. So here I'm going to break down exactly how we got this look so you can take all of that and use it in all of your future projects. So we're going to be doing two shots here, an interior and an exterior shot, so we can see how we move the lights accordingly. What we're going to be creating is a scene of a girl sad in her car at night, and just to add to that sadness and gloominess, of course we're going to add rain, because everybody at least once has cried in their car at night in the rain, just like a Hollywood movie. And if you haven't, well, you're lying. A super DIY low budget way to fake rain, I took a C-stand, clamped the hose to the arm, and then I clamped down the handle on the nozzle to make a hands-free rainmaker. Again, these clips from Lowe's are amazing, a lifesaver. I'll drop the link below. So now that we have the hose rigged up, I raised up my C-stand, and this is where placement is key. I put the hose in a place where it's raining on both the driver's side of the vehicle as well as the windshield, because I knew that both of those windows would be in either the foreground or the background of both of my shots. So two things to be sure of. We want to make sure that the hose is up high enough so it looks as if it's coming from a realistic direction. If the hose is too close to the car or not coming from a realistic angle, it might look hosey and artificial. We want the drizzle. 2. The nozzle. I used a great nozzle with a nice spread, something like a shower setting. Obviously, you're not going to be using something like jet or mist to replicate your rain. So that's the scene. It's set, it's sad. We're good to go for our first light. That first light is acting as kind of a silhouette rim light, motivated by a street light that isn't really there, one of those loud orange buzzy parking lot street lights. For that, I used my Aperture LS20 and I put 2 gels because of the 7200 degree color temperature, bringing it down to probably about 3000 Kelvin. We're gonna put that light on the back half driver's side of the car. So doing so is gonna backlight everything. Now that it's backlit, it really puts an amber glow to the rain and gives us a lot of texture all over the car interior. This texture really adds character to the shot, and with a combination of that and the light hitting the rain, you get much more of an ambient glow of orange. So now she's really outlined from the background, but this shot is much more than a silhouette, and we really want to see the expression and emotion on her face. So the second light is a light that's being motivated by either the same street light or an adjacent one, and we're creating an eye light with this one. Now we're really breaking her silhouette out of the background. I am taking my second Aperture LS20 with the same gels and placing it right behind the car, directed right at the rear view mirror. I adjusted the mirror to shine right around her eyes. And since this light is a Fresnel, meaning adjustable from spotlight to a floodlight, I adjusted it all the way to a spot to have a tight beam, and the reason behind this is so that a lot of the light won't flood throughout the car, because we're really honing in on just her eyes for this light. So let's talk about why I added this, or a few reasons rather. The first is, I really wanted to see the sadness in our subject's eyes, and eyes are where people are most expressive and where people look to connect with one another. And also, viewers' eyes always go towards the bright part of an image, so I wanted to punch light in her eyes, but in a natural way. The cool thing about a rearview mirror is that it reflects kind of a perfect box around her eyes, but I didn't want it to be too distracting, so I kept it really dim, just enough to pull her out of the shadows. The second reason I added this light is to add depth to my frame, because depth is so important. Before this light, the scene felt isolated and boxed into the car. But after adding the light, it tells the viewer more about the story of where this person is, maybe in a parking lot or on some road. Again, adding depth to the scene by bringing life outside of the car in the frame. So with shots 1 and 2 in place, I noticed that something was missing. You still couldn't see much of our subject's face, and everything felt way too warm. There wasn't a lot of color contrast going on there at all. So I added my third and final light, and that being my Aperture 120D Mark II. So to fill in our subject's face and to pull her more from the shadows, I put this light in the front of the car, but still backlit enough to maintain the glow of the rain on the windshield, but enough to fill in the side of her face. And since signs and streetlights are typically high, I kept this light high above the car almost from top down. Again, I wanted to maintain the night feel, so I kept the lighting low key, because I didn't want to fill in many of the shadows on her camera side of her face. But since this technically is our key light and a large portion of the light is still hitting our subject's face, it was really harsh in casting those harsh shadows on her face, so I wanted to diffuse it. So I added my Aperture light dome just to diffuse the light a little bit more and look extra nice and soft on her face. And since everything felt so warm, I took a blue gel to this one. This light could be motivated by a cool sign or even just a different colored street light. The main reason for adding a cool temperature light is to add color contrast to the opposite side of the frame. So often in Hollywood, you'll see color contrast in lighting, wardrobe, etc. So on the color wheel, Opposite from orange, you have blue. Opposite from green, you have red. It adds to the cinematic and pleasing look without clashing colors. So I placed this light on frame right, opposite of the first warm light, just to balance out the image. So let's take a look at the progression of the lights that we've added here. Okay, so to switch the shot, I wanted to take this one outside of the car and really be in the rain. So let's break that down and see what changed. So to get more compression out of the rain in the foreground and background and get a lot more soft, creamy bokeh, I switched my lens from the Sigma 18-35 to my Super Takumar 1960s 50mm, and that lens produces amazing flaring and such soft vintage look. So if you want me to do a video on that, leave a comment down below. Now that I'm outside, I wanted to shoot through the windshield on the passenger side so you still maintain that orange glow behind her. But now that I moved the shot, we need to make some slight adjustments to the lights and the set. When I moved the shot, the hose became visible. So I moved it further towards the back of the car so it was again hidden by that pillar. Be mindful that when adjusting shots, things like lights, stands, bad reflections you don't want may become visible and require adjusting. My key light, the dome, I moved a slight amount away from the camera because when I moved the shot, it started to fill in too much of the shadows on our face, and I wanted to maintain that low-key lighting without filling in the shadows on our subject. And then that warm silhouette light, that first light that I added, I moved towards the back of the car as well because when I moved the shot, the stand became visible. And then for brightness, I dropped the brightness of my cool key light because it was starting to wash out a lot of the raindrops, and since I was shooting through the windshield, it was very bright and hard to see what was actually inside the car. And then for the two warm lights, I brought the exposure of both of those up because when shooting through the windshield, that was cutting out some of the light. But let's take a look at the progression of those shots and then see our final shots compiled. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful and you learned something. If you recreate this or use it in any of your own work, please tag me in it or make sure to send it my way. Leave a comment below for any future videos that you'd like to see. I love to hear your ideas. But I'm gonna cut this lesson short to give you all time to like, share, and subscribe. Class dismissed.